What's up, everyone? Before we jump into today's episode, we have an amazing opportunity where we're looking to help 5 people achieve an effective body recomp. If you want to lose fat, replace it with new muscle, learn how to gain strength in the process in a sustainable and healthy way over the next 90 days, DM us Body Recomp on Instagram to @ColosssusFit, COLOSSUSFIT to get started. Now into the episode. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And I want to give a special shout out to everyone that checked out our YouTube channel. The podcast is now on video, so if you're watching this, howdy. And I want you, if you are watching this, to comment what my mug says in the comments section. So the video gang, we're looking for you to represent in the YouTube comments. Comment the mug and don't tell people what's going on. I think it's a lot of fun and a good way to get after it. And once again, if you want to find the link to watch the video, it's just Fit, Healthy, Happy Podcast. You search in YouTube, it'll come up. It is the same logo. We will also have it as the first link in the show notes down below. As always, we're looking to level up. We know last week we had some pops. If I was saying popcorn, pet, Peter, all these different things, I know there was a little bit of popping. So we're always looking to improve and get better. So we got some guards for you. And we just want this podcast to be the best it can be week after week. And we're really happy about these new developments. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and being here and just being part of our journey and watching us grow. And it's a perfect parallel to fitness, just getting after it, getting started. We started just filming these with a boom mic in a car. It was kind of crazy. It was a weird way to do a podcast. We did in the freezing cold and the burning heat, and we made it to video. We've done all these cool things. We've got these professional mics, and it's just been such an incredible journey. So I want to thank every single one of you for listening, and we are really excited for today's episode. Let's kick it off with Mr. KG's quote. What do you got?
And kicking off, my quote for this week is, it's the small habits, how you spend your mornings, how you talk to yourself, what you read, what you watch, who you share your energy with, who has access to you, that will change your life. And this is very simple, and I think a lot of times we feel the need to just be super complex and come up with these crazy formulas and this crazy routines and stuff like that. But every single one of these things I firmly believe in. It's something I'm constantly focused on. Even if you think of like one thing here, how you talk to yourself. So many people have negative self-talk. It's been said that a lot of our thoughts, almost 80% of our thoughts in the day, can be negative. And if we make these small changes, we start to read positive stuff, we hang around the right people, and make every little habit, just make the most of it, it's crazy how our lives can change. So that's my little quote, paragraph, little mantra, whatever you want for this Monday episode.
That is a killer quote. One thing I kind of recall and really brings to mind with Kyle saying that, I forget where it was from, but someone asked someone, what gets you out of bed in the morning? And the person responded, the thought that waking up in the morning, that day could be the best day of my life. And I remember hearing that and being like, wow, when you have that optimism, and it really could just be that one thing. And similar to this, the way I relate it is that one video. Even today, I watched an incredible video I really liked. So I got a lot of good notes, and that's where my quote came from today. And I'm really excited to share it. And I actually changed my quote 3 times because I got a better quote, a better quote, a better quote. And you never know when you actually spend the time surrounding yourself and making sure your inputs are positive and motivational and healthy, you're just going to constantly just be fired up. Whereas if you're surrounding yourself and doing things that bring you down and make you feel bad, you're just going to feel drained. You're not going to feel yourself. And as Kyle said, it's the small things. Like even for me, going on my walk, watching my motivational video, challenging my mind, listening to an audiobook or a thoughtful podcast. These are all great thought cues. And even from this podcast, there could be one tip that could change your entire fitness journey. So shout out to you for tuning in, being on top of your journey and listening. That is absolutely awesome. So into my quote, this is from Alex Hormozi. That guy is a beast. There's not many influencers I really, really respect and recommend, but in terms of business and just business mindset, this guy has just been on fire. And this quote is a heavy quote. I'm really excited to share this with everyone. So he said, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. So I just want everyone to take a second to think about that. Because it's so easy to say, I'm not a confident person, or I'm not a fit person, I'm not this, I'm not that. what's awesome for me is I've worked now over 10 years to showcase to myself and everyone that I'm fit. My actions speak for that. I make healthy decisions. I go to the gym consistently, and I'm always doing things to give me that healthy life. And it's so easy to be a talker. There's this motivational video we love by Kevin Hart. I listen to it every Monday. It's a 3-minute video. And he says, don't be a talker, be a doer. No one likes that person who says they're going to do something. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Like, I believe in affirmations. They're great. But at the same time, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to get in shape. This is the time I'm going to get in shape. You say it over and over, you're going to start to not believe it. You're going to be that person who cried wolf. But where you start putting in that action, you become that person. You remove that self-doubt and you go, I am a fit person. Like, I've been working out for 2 months now every single day. That's a huge step for me. Or I am losing weight. I lost 3 pounds last month. Pat yourself on the shoulder. When you can show yourself that you are that confident person, it's just such a powerful thing. And that concept of outworking your self-doubt is just so powerful, and it really got me fired up. And it just really reminds me that you can get confident. You can get a ton of confidence by giving yourself that proof, by putting in that action, by being consistent, and adding on to what Kyle said, doing those small things so you can have a ton of success.
Man, that was honestly so well said, and that was very inspiring. So if you like these quotes, just make sure to smash that like button. If you are watching on YouTube, I won't do too many plugs here, but we are really trying to grow our YouTube, and it means the world seeing the comments. Like, even I was talking to Josh the other day, and it's wild because we have never really gotten much feedback aside from the messages on Instagram, and so it is so amazing to see all of you awesome people commenting down below and saying, hey, all these great things, and just all that inspiring stuff. So I just want to say thank you so much as well. I won't spend too much time on that, but make sure to get some good engagement going and into the thoughts of this episode.
Yeah, for real though, even just adding on for 2 seconds, we're really excited because video is a big jump for us. I know it sounds like it's not a big deal, but you're just adding a ton of variables of what can go wrong. We need to be super on. We can't just sound good. We got to look good. We got to look in the camera right, like all these different challenges. So even if you're not a big video person, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You might see the odd video you want to watch. We'll eventually bring in more visuals and do different things like that. So make sure to check that out. And we read every single comment, every review. So to the people that take a little bit of time to do that, it means the world to us, because it's one thing to record this content. It's motivating seeing crazy numbers of how many listeners we have, and it's great. But just once again, bring it to the micro, the comments of how this podcast has helped you personally, or something you've really enjoyed, or someone mentioned the popping. Shout out to you. Even though it's hard sometimes to tell people, hey, this could help you improve, it's going to make us better. Now everyone's going to learn from it. So once again, just thank you to everyone for that. And we're really excited with that. And I'm just going to add on to mine here with a note I had written down. And that's regarding self-doubt. It's not just the things you've done, it's how you perceive them. And this was super powerful to me because adding on, it says not just your achievements, it's your ability to recall and remember them as well. So what this means is it's so easy to do crazy things. A good example, at one point in my life, my ultimate goal was to bench 135 pounds. Huge goal of mine. I'm like, I want to be able to bench a plate. And now I come in and I warm up with the plate. I could probably do a plate 80 times. I don't even know. I could do it some ridiculous amount of time. But in my head, that was the sky to me. That was the best, craziest thing I could imagine. And I did it. And it's so easy to hit it and go, 225, let's go. And it's good to be motivating, but it can also be demotivating. If you don't take time to reflect on your own achievements, it's hard to internalize all the amazing work you've done and be proud of yourself. And if you're always chasing, it feels like you're never catching and you're not accomplishing. It's easy to get down on yourself, especially people that have a lot of imposter syndrome or self-doubt. I can see how this could really leak into that. And even myself being very goal-driven, being very hungry, it's so easy to say, oh, I'll be better off when I'm at XYZ once I achieve this. But this practice, and shout out to Chris Williamson, he has a really good thought podcast on YouTube as well. He mentioned that when he achieves something, because he's the same way, he's very driven, he's very motivated, he takes like 3 minutes to appreciate it when he's done something really hard. So a great example would be, I lost that 10 pounds. I can't believe I did it. I'm going to take 3 minutes and think of all the hard work I had to do, those moments of sacrifice, the learning, the effort I need to put in, and be proud of yourself, because that's something you can rely back onto. And now when you want to lose 20 pounds and you're on to your next 10, you can say, I've done this, I can keep going. Whereas if you just go, I've done 10, but I haven't done 20, it's demotivating and it doesn't make you hungry, and it kind of makes you feel like you could be that imposter. But similar to my quote, and if you do struggle with imposter syndrome, by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, that's powerful. And, when you look at it this way, I find it's very freeing. And I thought this was very insightful and very applicable. And if you're listening to a fitness, health, and happiness podcast, there's a great chance this applies to you. So I'd even challenge everyone listening to take a few minutes and reflect and think on the incredible things you've done. And for me, 135, 185, then I did 225, then I've done 315, then I got a 400-pound bench, which is really cool. I'm still coming for 405, but when you have that reflection, you actually look back, you're like, wow, I've done a lot. I'm really proud of myself for doing this. And I find it's very inspiring and motivating to keep going on and want to do more.
Absolutely. That was so well said. And it kind of just brings me into my little thought here about just surrounding yourself with great people. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we were in the gym hitting some, it was actually back day. And Josh had pretty much said to me and my buddy, let's see who burns more calories. Let's see who works harder here. And moral of the story, it's not about the calories that matter. I don't want people to just run up, and we said no supersets, no running down the turf, no doing any of this stuff. We got to the end of the workout. He had beat me by just over 200, and that was incredible. I looked at him. I said, we both won. That was the most amount of calories we burned. That was essentially, once again, let's put calories aside, but we both worked significantly harder than we ever would have. I did way more. I was pushing a little bit closer to failure. Once again, it's not about always going to failure, but it's about getting at least close. If I have a 2 RIR, which means 2 reps in reserve, I was truly there. Like, I was at that point. He was absolutely destroying it. And it was just so inspiring because I just said, we both won. No matter what the numbers say, we both pushed each other. Josh was an amazing little instigator there who said, let's do this competition. Of course, he always burns way more. He got over 1,000, which was pretty cool. But it also reminded me, because we've been, living in Florida, just doing a little Airbnb and having a great time here, inviting some friends, just having just lots of different work situations, lots of filming, lots of great content. And my protein's been through the roof. And I was saying to Josh, I was like, I think I'm starting to pick up on some of your random habits, So he's just over 210 pounds. He's having a lot more protein than me, being at about 170. And I'm like checking my MyFitnessPal, putting my numbers into my spreadsheet. I'm like, wow, I'm having a lot of protein, right? So more of the story is that when you have the people around you that are looking to get to the next level, who are doing great things, who are just striving for just different things and pushing to be better, the habits just randomly, like, I didn't even realize, right? It's just kind of little things like our Chipotle every lunch, like maybe having a bag of Quest chips when he has one, right? Having similar dinners. We're obviously cooking for the entire crew and everything like that. So that's the really cool thing. Whereas there's a lot of people who are just like looking to just get by and not really even having enough protein, barely drinking water. Like, it's really important to get around those people who are looking to get to the next level. You're not even going to realize, next thing you know, you're benching some crazy numbers. You're showing up to the gym more than ever. So get around the right people and it'll pay off for sure.
So well said. I got nothing to add there, but Kyle knocked it out of the park with that one. And now we're going to jump into our client shout out. And this is a really important segment. I really want to recommend everyone, because similarly, when you hear about other people winning, how they did it, the obstacles they overcame to achieve it, it's very self-motivating because you can apply it to your journey. We were talking with our buddy how he was super inspired by someone who's 400 pounds, lost a ton of weight in good shape. He's a lean guy who's in really good shape, but for him, it's still motivating. It's like, wow, that guy can have that much change. I'm super motivated to achieve my recomposition. So who's our shout out for today, Kyle?
Yeah, so this week we have my awesome client, Whitney, and her tips are absolutely incredible. She's lost over 30 pounds and done some incredible things. And even just looking at it, once again, we always share on Instagram, so make sure to follow us there, Colossus Fit. And she had said the number one thing that really stood out to me, and obviously stood out to her, was just don't try to be perfect. Just do the best you can each day and aim for daily progress. And that was super insightful. And even number 2 tip she had said was, even when you don't feel like it, at least get up and do something. There will be those days. Remember your goals and why you're doing this. So it's phenomenal. She's lost a lot of weight, but also put on some lean muscle. You can see in the photos, she's getting consistently stronger. She's challenging herself with different types of running events, different those Spartan races and all those really cool things. So amazing job, Whitney. So proud of you. If you are looking to get next level results, just get the best of the best coaching. We are here for you. We will take care of you every step of the way. So make sure to send us that message on Instagram, Body Recomp. Don't hesitate. What are you waiting for? If you're thinking, hey, I want to do this, or I might want to do this, or I want to see what it's all about, just send us that message. We will take care of you. I guarantee you, you will get some incredible results this year, and we want you to end 2023 in the best possible shape of your life. You deserve this. So that's all I got for the client shout out.
And there's a good chance if you're listening to this, you're going to be one of our future client shoutouts, just like this. We've had a lot of clients come from the inspirations of others by seeing our social proof of over 3,000 transformations. We have a 98% success rate. We guarantee results. And we do that for a reason. That's because we take training, nutrition, as well as accountability to another level to get you 5 times more results in your journey. And you got to ask yourself, have you progressed this last year, the last 5 years? Are you moving towards your goals or further away? Because if you're moving further away, let us help you. Let's get you that next level. Let's get you that confidence, that swagger, that excitement towards the journey back. And that's what it's all about. So go ahead, DM us Body Recomp to get started. Once again, our Instagram is @ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Now, this is Motivation Monday, and we're here to answer your questions. We have 3 incredible questions today, so we're going to jump into the mailbag. And the first one was actually inspired from one of my clients. And she was asking, how do you encourage other people to get started with fitness? And her answer was specific too, because she had a friend in particular who she's been really trying hard to get motivated, who just needs to get in shape but refuses to listen, and is still having those sugary Starbucks drinks, is still not going to the gym, and just not making any effort. And she was saying, how can I get through to someone like this? What do I need to do? So I'm really curious to hear Kyle's answer. I got some things planned, but I'm going to let Kyle take it away.
So this is a very interesting one. And I was just talking about how Josh has indirectly increased my protein intake. He hasn't said a word. He hasn't said, bro, increase that intake. Nothing like that. Just out of habit. And what's very interesting, and my main thing is I feel like the best thing you can do is lead by example. We have, as I was mentioning, a lot of people coming around here. We're starting to say a lot of different things and trying to inspire people as well. Some of our friends who may not be as into crushing the gym like we are, or maybe having as much protein or going for the walks. Like just from simply being a good example, I feel like that's going to be number one. Set the tone, show them what they're doing. When someone sees, hey, this person's literally up at 5 a.m. getting a workout in or going for a walk or whatever it is, a lot of people will recognize that. They may not follow suit just yet, but that's going to be number one. And number two, and it is very tough for us because being fitness coaches and having the knowledge that we have, just the experience, what we do for a living, it can be tough being around people. We don't, being around people who are also looking to be better, but we don't want to be those type of people who just say, hey, do this, do this, do this, right? That's not the best thing to do in my personal opinion. A lot of people become defensive and it can get quite tough. So I know I have different tips than Josh and I want to take a little bit of a spin on it. So just being a little bit indirect and starting to give tips without trying to preach to someone, in my personal opinion, is one of the greatest things you can do. And I'll use an example of us going to Chipotle for lunch. We've been having a lot of protein. We've been having a lot of veggies. And if you are hanging out with someone consistently, instead of saying, hey, you should eat more protein, eat more veggies, they'll kind of become a little bit defensive in my personal opinion. But if you start to inform someone and say, hey, this is actually really good, it's going to actually fill you up. Protein's one of the greatest ways to help you build muscle. It's great to help you become satiated. Veggies are so underrated. And you start to just inform them and they start to think, in my personal opinion, be like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this. This actually makes sense, okay? And then you notice the next day they start to order a salad and maybe get some chicken on top. So once again, my personal opinion is starting to be a great example while indirectly trying to teach them, in my personal opinion, is one of the greatest things you can do.
Yeah, Kyle's tip is my biggest tip ever. I think leaders will inspire others naturally by leading by example. And if you're trying to be a leader and you're sending mixed signals, it's going to be hard for that person. It's not about being perfect, but it's about setting a standard or showing you're making an effort. And this question is often asked in the lens of like people of significant others. And it's hard. You can't just be like, hey, you need to go to the gym, you need to lose weight. Immediately that person's going to be defensive. They're going to clam up about it. And you're going to get this kind of bashing of heads if one person wants to be fit and one person doesn't. But if you just start becoming that person and you start saying, hey, you want to come on a walk? Person says, no, that's fine. Or, hey, you want to come with me to the gym? Check it out. It's pretty cool. They say, no, that's fine as well. But my biggest thing is, just like you can't put a square peg through a round hole, you can't force fitness and health onto someone. Like, especially me and Kyle, we've had this talk a million times because there's a ton of people in our life who, take our expertise and our knowledge and they apply it. But then we also have people very close to us who refuse and they get very stuck in their own ways. But it's how people are. We're stubborn, and especially with family and really close friends, it can be really tough, but you can't want someone to transform more than they can themselves. And the best way to inspire them to do that is to show that it can be done, to show that you can still have a life, you can do it the right way. And they'll say, wow, how are you doing this? And they'll begin to reach out. And then you can start to build off that. And then they'll start doing these things, feeling good. And then that can, once again, continue to snowball further and further. And there's a quote I really like by Arthur Ashe, and that is, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So if you apply those 3 things to your situation, that's going to go a long way. So you got to look where you are, where they are, how can you build off of that, use what you have too, as I've mentioned. And some people will refuse to go to the gym, but they'll love hiking. They'll say, I just want to hike. I want to do all these great things. Or they'll love a sport. Start playing more sports with them. Start hiking. And then before you know it, they're moving so much. They're like, oh, I'm loving all this moving. And you say, hey, you want to come to the gym? You've been crushing those hikes and those sports. Let's hit up the gym. They're going to get motivated for that. Or maybe they don't like a certain type of working out and you try to bring them into something else. And as I mentioned, you can't really force someone in, but you can definitely encourage them. You can do small things. And I think it really is important too that you're not being annoying and you're not doing it out of your own purpose. I find especially people with significant others, they'll try so hard that it'll cause so much fraction, and that person will just get so defensive, and it's just going to be counterproductive. Instead, if you're doing it trying to help them and have everyone win, everyone feel good, you're going to have a lot more success. Even finding what drives someone is probably my biggest thing. And even as a coach, I've really worked hard to identify what inspires and motivates people. Are they driven by vanity? Do they want to look really good for Instagram? Well, that's fine too. Are they driven by fitting in great clothes? Are they driven by more ability to play with their kids more, to be able to lift crazy weights? Whatever it is, you have to find what that driving force is, whether it's artificial and kind of silly, or if it's really important, like being able to live a long time and be around for family or fight off disease. No matter what it is, everyone has something that makes them tick and motivates them. And if you can build around that, it can be fun. Challenges are a lot of fun. I find, especially with men, challenges are just such a great motivator, and everyone can win, even if you don't hit that set goal. Similar to pitting Kyle against our buddy Andrew. It was just a fun way for them, and they both had like some of the best workouts of their lives because they were just so driven and so focused, and they had to be so intentional with every set. And at the end of the day, everyone won. So it's a very hard open-ended question, and this is how I responded to my client, but these are the tools I've liked to use that I find go a long way and people can naturally absorb. And once again, everyone at their core wants to be fit, healthy, and happy. And I'm a big believer that we all know what we want. We can just often be scared to admit it to ourselves. Because if you say, hey, I want an amazing physique, that's going to mean, oh, I can't be slamming pizza late at night. I got to start getting to bed on time. I got to go to the gym instead of watching Netflix. It's hard to admit, but you can do that progressively and in stages. And if you listen to our Thursday episode where we went over a lot of the obstacles why people don't succeed and how to overcome them, that is also very applicable. So I'd highly recommend going back, listen to that episode. And when you suggest fitness to people and they give you inevitably one of those obstacles, rather, you can say, hey, here's how you can avoid it, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, and Josh really got me thinking there where he was saying know what motivates someone, because there are some people that you do need to call out. And it's very situational. If it's someone really close to you that's always complaining, that has really low energy, who always says that they can't fit into something, who like you really care about as well, like it may be possible, and this is where being a coach and helping so many people comes in handy, that we know the right things to say to the right people based off of their language, based off of where they're at, based off of their time frame, and so much more. But if it's someone that's really close to you and they've complained and they've said, hey, I'm trying, I want to do this, and you just say, hey, listen, this is clearly a problem. You've mentioned it many times here. Let's figure out a solution. And there's some people I'm not afraid to call out, and I know that's what works best for them. They need to be told. They need someone to say, hey, listen, let's do this. Get to the gym this morning. Don't be lazy. Let's go. Where there's some people who just need a little bit of a softer, kind of more laid back tone, where you start to ask some of the right questions, where you start to kind of be a little bit of a better inspiration and start to set the right example. So that's where, as Josh said, there it is very tough, because there's some people here where you need to just make that, you know what, let's go, let's do this. You said you want to be here for the next 20 years for your kids, and we got to do this, and we know that that'll inspire them. And then there's some people there where we just have to say, hey, let's just be a little bit better, let's go for this walk, and that's totally cool. And yeah, whatever works, really you have to kind of just pinpoint. And that's where having a coach, having someone guide, like who can actually look deeper and that's not emotionally attached, say, hey, this is what we need to do and this is how we're going to succeed. So that was a very good question today.
Very well said. Now into our second question, that is, I hear such mixed things. Are carbs bad or good for me? And how much should I be eating? So I love this question. I've mentioned before on the podcast, I won't get too into it, how it's very cyclical, the different things of demonizing a certain nutrient. Oh, carbs are the enemy, fats are the enemy, sugar is the enemy. It's just, it always switches. For a few years you get one or the other, and now you get all these different phases. But it seems like carbs are making a little bit of a comeback. People are really understanding the importance of well-balanced nutrition. It really looks like people are starting to think, what's good for my body long term, and we're getting away from that short term mindset. So I'm really happy that we are beginning to see that shift. But I know there's still a lot of confusions about, are carbs bad for you and what do they do? So one big thing I recommend is knowing the differences in carbs. So what you want to avoid, and where people will say sugar is bad for you, and I will agree only in the sense of it's just excessive. If you look at like a can of Coke or something, there's like 40 plus grams of sugar in there. that's excessive. You don't need that much sugar. Like if you look at how much sugar that is compared to the bottle, it's actually a little bit disturbing. And the energy transfer is going to be really bad. It's a very quick carb. You're going to burn it really quick. It's going to leave you feeling hungry. You're sacking calories for no reason. That's where I'm not a fan. And one thing I'll recommend to anyone who's new to fitness, try and cut out juices, try and cut out pops. It's okay if you want to have one here and there, but if you're just having a habit of having a few of those a day, you're having a ridiculous amount of excess calories and unnecessary carbs that your body can't use well. We've all been there. We've had a really good source of carbs and we feel good with it and it feels really nice, like a nice quinoa, a nice brown rice. They feel phenomenal and there's a reason for that. You're getting more nutrients in them. So at the same time, like a white bread versus a whole wheat bread, people tend to think white bread is just horrible for you. It's not healthy. That's not the case. It's just filtered of a lot of those fibers, a lot of those grains, and it's just going to be a more simple form of carbs. So that's where you get simple and complex. So simple will be a little bit more sugary and it's going to be really quick glycogen. Once again, this isn't a horrible thing, but if you're someone who has limited calories and you want to stay lean, if you're having these, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because you're going to be hungry so quick. And that's where we need to balance these things. But even for me, I'll utilize a simple carb. So simple carbs could be a fruit, for instance, and I'll have fruits in my morning breakfast, so I'll have something that I can use readily when I want to go to the gym. I want my body to be able to use that carb as soon as possible. Whereas if I'm just pounding whole wheat bread and quinoa in the morning, I'm still obviously going to be able to derive some glycogen, but I'm not going to be able to get as much. That can affect my pumps. It can do all these different things. So you gotta have balance in your day. And I know some people will default to only eating these quick carbs. They'll get all their carb sources from sugar. They'll get all their carb sources from white breads, from fruits, from all these different things. And I know there's just so much confusion about what is a carb. I knew a girl in university and I used to always laugh because she'd always say, carbs are bad for you. You don't understand fitness to me. And I'd be like, okay. And then she'd be sitting there having like this huge smoothie, this bowl of fruit and this huge salad. I'm like, literally everything here is carbs. Like the entire thing is carbs. And carbs aren't bad. Your body needs carbs. They're a great energy source. And there's a reason why NFL players are having Gatorade like crazy. They need that. Marathoners need a ton of carbs. They're burning. They want those simple carbs. But for Gen Pop, if you're being moderate with your calories, you're going to want to aim to get a lot of healthy complex carbs in your diet. I've been on big bulks where I've been eating 5,000 calories. I don't want all complex carbs there. I'm going to have so much fiber. I'm going to be so bloated. I'm going to get GI issues. Don't want that at all. So I'd work in some of those quick carbs. Or that's where if you're a super hard gainer, it's not the worst thing in the world for you to have an orange juice. Whereas for me, if I'm really watching my calories, it's a little bit of a waste of energy. But everyone should be having carbs. And I know a lot of people will avoid carbs like crazy, go into the gym, not have enough water either, and get bad headaches, become super lightheaded. Your body needs energy to burn through. It's really important you give it that source. And I've really become more of a fan. I used to be really comfortable having high carbs. I have about 500 grams a day. I felt good there. I found as I get a little bit older, for whatever reason, I feel a little bit better with a moderate carb, moderate fat diet. And that's where I feel best. And you have to analyze that. I still have friends that like 600 grams of carbs. They're very lean. They feel good. Their body uses it. Power to them. I know some people that like 200 grams of carbs. You really got to play with it and see where you feel best. I do believe I need to earn my carbs. So even Kyle, well, he's running a ton. He's probably going to need a lot more carbs. There's a reason for that. But you take that out of his life, will he need as many carbs? I don't believe it as much. And it's not that it's inherently bad. I just feel I don't need it. And if I have too many, I get a little bit lethargic. So that's where that trade-off can be. And that's where the journey of a carb is so personal. And I don't like assigning specific percentages as to how many carbs you should have, because that can greatly change. If I say they should be 30% of your diet, that might make sense at a certain allotment of calories, but it won't at another allotment. So that's where there's a million factors at play here. But in terms of nutritional importance, the main thing you want to focus on is your calories first. It's going to be your net energy. Then look at your protein. And then science has shown carbs and fats in a healthy diet in moderation are pretty interchangeable, unless you're like deep in a competition. If you're a really high level athlete, it's not going to be the end of the world. Myself, I do a protein calorie. That's how I track. That's how I feel best. And I'll kind of gauge how I feel. And if I've had a really active, intense day, I played a gazillion sports, I'll have a few more carbs. My body will feel pretty good for it. And that's how I like to look at it. And one thing I wanted to even add are just trace calories. And for people that think they're having no carbs, and this is why I'm not crazy about keto, because I think in theory it's very intelligent, but it's so hard in implementation, because people, once again, will say I have no carbs, and you get people like that example of that person I used to had the smoothie, the salad, and then the fruit and all these things. But even take this in. So trace calories are one of the biggest culprits. For example, a piece of gum contains about 2 grams of carbohydrates. A packet of sweetener containing maltodextrin or dextrose has around 0.8 grams of carbohydrates. And while vegetables are vital to a healthy diet, you should track those carbs as well. It all adds up. If you chew 3 pieces of gum, use 5 packets of sweetener, and eat 4 servings of vegetables each day, that adds up to more than 30 grams of untracked carbohydrates each day. So this isn't a horrible thing, but once again, there's carbs in a lot more than you think. And even 30 grams there, we're already getting close to breaking those keto guidelines. So carbs are everywhere. They're not the enemy. They're perfectly healthy. You can monitor them. In a nutshell, I would just avoid excessive things like eating a ton of candy, just quick, very super highly processed sugars. Sugar isn't the enemy as well, in moderation. And it really comes down to, there's not many things that are inherently bad for you. It's having too much of something that is super bad for you. So there's my big rant on carbs.
Yeah, that was so well said. Very insightful. I'm sure a lot of you learned some incredible things there. And it is unfortunate. I feel like carbs have had a lot of demonization over the years. And years ago, one of the first things we heard was you can't have carbs after a certain period of time, whether it's like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And that myth just came from a lot of people saying that your body just stops burning calories while you're sleeping, which is complete nonsense because your body's always burning calories. It might slow down a little bit, but at the end of the day, people started to think carbs were the enemy from that. Now keto, which is roughly under 50 grams of carbs a day, a lot of people are thinking, well, if this is what people are saying and if this is what works, then carbs are bad. I shouldn't have any. But at the end of the day, as Josh said, like the main thing I wanted to clarify is if you're having an excess of it, if you're having 500 grams of carbs and that takes you out of a calorie deficit and you're looking to lose body fat, then that's an issue. And the other thing to consider is that for a lot of people, carbs can be just easier to get a hold of, but also a little bit more addicting depending on what you get. There's very rare people aside from us who are like, give me more protein. I want more of this stuff. Whereas most people, they get their hands on some carbs. You know, you have a little bit of sugar, you have a little bit of fun other stuff. You're like, okay, I want more of it and more of it and more of it. And so that's why I really recommend trying to eat as healthy as possible. Even fruit, stuff like that. It is harder to get your calories up higher versus something like candy, such as chocolate, like ice cream, all these other things that don't really offer much nutritional value. So anyways, that was a great question. Carbs are not the enemy, but it is always great to keep a log of it, see what's going on. I find when I don't have a log, I'm like, what the heck's going on? So keep a track of your calories and it'll pay off for sure.
And once again, the answer for most things you'll find is it depends. It's so situational. There's a reason we say that a lot, but we try to approach things from a lot of different thought perspectives and situations so you can really begin to understand more about something. It's tough when you just hear yes, no to an answer because you don't understand it deeply. And we really work hard on this podcast to make sure we're explaining things from a million different angles so you can have a complete understanding of it, so you can apply it to your life and you can help other people with it as well. So if you do enjoy this podcast, once again, subscribe to our podcast, now available on YouTube. Subscribe to it on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. Leave a review on Spotify or iTunes. We read every single review, or leave a comment on YouTube. So whatever medium you're on, there's a way to make me and Kyle smile, and we really do appreciate that. And now we're gonna jump into our third and final question for the day, and that is, I am on a budget. What are the best 3 muscle building supplements you can recommend to me? So if you don't have a ton of money to spend, you're on a budget and you're thinking about supplements, my best advice would be don't even worry about supplements. You don't need supplements to get a great physique. There's no need for them. They're supplemental to good training and nutrition. And 99% of people who ask me supplement questions don't truly have those fully dialed in. Now, if you're that 0.1%, you're like, hey, I still want the secret. What do you recommend? Quite simply, the 3 I'd recommend in order would be a protein powder. Not that it's magical or there's anything inherently special about it. It's just a very readily accessible and usable form of the nutrient. You can put in your oatmeal, you can put in your smoothie, you could take it in a shake. It's just a fantastic way to inject more protein in your diet. So that's number 1. Number 2 is creatine. Tons of great research on it. It's going to help you with performance, endurance. Just a wonderful, very cheap supplement as well. It's recently spiked up with all the interest over TikTok, but I remember it used to be stupid cheap, and I kind of miss those days. So let's do what we can to keep it on the down low. But a really, really good thing I'd recommend taking advantage of. And my third would likely, I'd have to say, be a pre-workout because it's very usable. As long as you're not bothered by caffeine, it doesn't make you feel too bad, anxious, or really, I know some people really don't like the effects of it, but a good pre-workout will have a lot of good things. Like citrulline malate has been shown to help a little bit with endurance, to get you better pumps, which is absolutely awesome. Beta alanine, same thing. You get some endurance benefits in there. You get those tingles. You kind of get that mental cue that you're like, okay, it's grind time, it's go time. You can get caffeine for mental alertness. You can get a lot of good stuff in there. You just don't want to be crutching on it too hard. And that's saying from someone who uses it for most of my workouts. I do recommend kind of cycling off it, taking a 14-day break, maybe every quarter of the year. There's nothing wrong with going about that. But those three are moderately affordable. They're still definitely not cheap, but the three, if you were to just get started, those are the three I would take. And the truth is, there's not many supplements I like past that. If you want more supplement information and detail, I'll link another episode in the show notes of this episode. You can find the YouTube there. You can find our Instagram as well. And we want to thank every single one of you for tuning in today and just for all the support we've received on this podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well. We're always posting a ton of great content there, posting a full leg workout reel this Wednesday. So definitely be sure to check that out. That's the leg workout me and Kyle crushed today. You can go and try that out in the gym, see how it feels, get a killer pump. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.